Happy December. Let's make some holiday main dishes. We're going to start off with this tofu ham. I'm using the soy-free tofu from Big Mountain Foods. It is so good. I love this. It's fava bean tofu and it is delicious. So we're going to just start off by patting this. It is like a firm tofu, so you don't need to press it, but I'm just patting it dry. And then I'm just going to make 4 rectangles, so they're the same size as the original square, just thinner. Now, we are going to take a nice sharp knife and we are going to start making little diagonal cuts. You don't want to go too deep into the tofu. You just want to go deep enough that we get a little bit of a crosshatch pattern. So we make diagonals one way and then the other way. They're not going to be that visible when you first cut it, so don't worry. It might even just still look like a regular block of tofu. You just don't want to go too deep because then you'll cut the tofu. And then we'll do that to all of them. We'll flip it and we'll do it to the other side. So both sides are getting this crosshatch pattern. Now, we're going to set those to the side. We're going to make our little glaze. So we're going to use maple syrup, low sodium soy sauce, ketchup, and garlic powder. Super simple, super easy. This hits all the flavors: sweet, salty, tangy, acidic. In a big pan, I'm going to add in some oil, or you could just do these oil-free if you wanted to as well. I'm going to put the tofu in, and I'm going to cook it on each side for about 5 to 7 minutes over a medium heat, just until we start to get a nice crispy sear going. It doesn't need to be cooked too much, but you could see that beautiful golden on that side starting. We'll flip them, and then we are going to start brushing this maple glaze goodness on. So while that one side is cooking on the bottom, we're just brushing all the tops. And as always, all the full written out recipes are on my blog. The links are in the description box down below, and all the ingredients are written out and links for anything you may need. So check out the description box. So I'm just continuously brushing, and then we'll let that cook. We'll give it a flip. We have to brush the other side, and we'll repeat this a few times of brushing and cooking, at least 2 to 3 times, letting it cook each time on the side for 2 to 3 minutes. And you'll just want to watch the tofu as it cooks, and if you need to adjust the heat at all, do this over like a medium heat, medium high, depending on how strong your stove is. And that's it. You just do this a few times, and then you are left with this amazing, gorgeous tofu that is so flavorful, so delicious, so beautiful. And making the crosshatch patterns on both sides is very important because it changes the texture. It allows that sauce to really get in there. I'll drizzle over any remaining glaze sauce, whatever you want to call it. And then, keeping it simple, I just did some black pepper and parsley, and that's it. This is seriously so good. And if you can find the soy-free tofu, try it with that because it's delicious, but this will also work really well with just a regular extra firm or firm tofu. And look at that inside. Beautiful. For our next recipe, we're making lasagna. Now, I'm making homemade sauce because for a holiday dinner, I think we should. So we're going to start off by sauteing some onion and garlic in oil. If you would like to use jarred sauce, you can. The Rao's is very good, and if you would rather just use that, I totally understand. But making your own sauce isn't hard. So I just sauteed for a few minutes and add a little salt too. Now we're going to add in Abbott's Butcher vegan ground beef. You can use any vegan ground beef you like. You could use lentils. You don't have to use any vegan beef. You could use crumbled tofu. It's whatever you like. Then I'm going to add in some tomato paste and 2 cans of the Cento tomato puree. The Abbott's Butcher ground beef is frozen, but that's okay. It will thaw and cook. And then I filled that 1 can with just like a 1/4 cup of water, just a little bit. Add in a little sugar, organic sugar, and salt. Mix this up, and you will have to let this cook for a little while. That's why I'm saying if you don't want to make homemade sauce, I understand. Or just make it ahead of time, and then this will keep in the fridge. So you want to let this cook for a half hour before you even dare to taste it. And you want it to cook over a medium low heat. You want there to be bubbles, but not bubbling like crazy. I tasted it, and I know that me and my boyfriend like a sweeter sauce, so I added a little more sugar, a little more salt. Let this cook for another half hour. While this cooks for the second half hour, we're going to make our tofu ricotta. I have a full recipe video dedicated to this. It's very easy. We're going to take some tofu. We're going to take nondairy milk, salt, nutritional yeast, pop it into a blender, blend it up until it gets creamy, and there you go. All done, easy, and delicious. I'm going to pop this in the fridge, and I add a little more salt to taste. Add your salt to taste. It is very important, and I can't stress this enough. Taste your food, adjust to your preferences. My recipes are a starting off point. Pop this in the fridge. Then we're going to cook our lasagna. I'm going to cook this for 2 to 3 minutes, shorter than the box says to do, so we have super nice al dente pasta. Our sauce is cooked for an hour now, and I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of pasta water. You can let your sauce cook, honestly, for 2 to 3 hours if you want, but 1 hour is at least enough amount of time. Give it a taste, and it should taste pretty good at this point. Now let's start making our lasagna. So we're going to add a layer of sauce on the bottom and spread this all around. I'm using just like a standard 9x13 baking dish. Then we will add our lasagna noodles. I like to actually heap a little water in the pot so that way they don't stick together, and make sure you let them cool so your hands don't get hurt. Then we'll add a few dollops of the vegan tofu ricotta, spread that around, and then we're going to add our vegan mozzarella, and then we repeat this process a few times until we get to the top. And it is so good. I really think making your own homemade sauce is worth it, especially for the holidays, and it's delicious. But you could also just use the store-bought. You could also use store-bought vegan ricotta if you want. So once I get to the final top round, we do things a little differently. So we start with the sauce, then we add our last 3 pieces of lasagna, then we add another layer of sauce, okay, instead of doing the vegan tofu ricotta, because I really want that cheese to be right all on top. And then we add whatever vegan ricotta is left, spread it around. Then we will add the vegan mozzarella, and we will also go in with some vegan parmesan. And this lasagna is always so good. I have given it to so many people. Like every time I make lasagna, everybody loves it. I promise, it's a delicious recipe. We are going to cover this with foil, bake it in the oven 450 Fahrenheit for 30 minutes covered. Then we will uncover it and bake it for 15 minutes uncovered. I'm going to save any sauce, just a little bit extra, but it's nice to have on the side. Just, you know, some people like things saucier. It's also good for when you have leftovers and like when the pasta sort of soaks up the sauce. Okay, let's take that foil off. Looking beautiful. But we're going back in the oven for 15 minutes. I do not like to broil my lasagna. I just like to put it back in because I don't like when it's super crispy on top. I just like a little crisp. And look at that. Absolutely gorgeous, stunning, show-stopping. However, we have to wait at least 30 minutes before we cut into this, because otherwise it's just going to be a big sloppy mess when it comes out of the oven, and we don't want that. So I'm going to cut now 12 pieces out, and for all like the make ahead instructions and everything, again, check the blog post, because lasagna is a great thing to prep and then bake the day of. So I am just going to cross my fingers, say a prayer, and hope that this lasagna piece comes out nicely. And it did. It really did. I mean, look at that beauty. And for the vegan cheese, I used Follow Your Heart and Daya. And there we go. Beautiful, easy, delicious, show-stopping. For our last recipe, we are making a vegan pot pie, and I think this just came out beautiful. So let's start with making our own crust. So you need all-purpose flour, sugar, salt. I'm going to pulse this in the food processor just to mix the dry ingredients. Then we want cold vegan butter. I cut this and I popped it in the freezer for like 15 minutes before I did this step. Cold vegan butter and cold water makes everything really flaky. And then I put the butter in, pulse it again a few times until it got crumbly, and now we're going to stream in cold water. Of course, you can also make the dough by hand, but if you have a food processor, it seriously makes it so much easier. So I do say to do it that way, but if you want to do it by hand, it's not that complicated, just adds a few extra minutes. So I'm letting the food processor do all the work. Once I see it slowing down and forming into the dough, I'm going to take it out and I'm just going to get in there, knead it with my hands for a few minutes, not too long, because we really don't want this dough to get warm. We just want it to get into a nice uniform ball and size. And then I'm going to divide the dough into 2. So I'm weighing it here, going to do some math. And I was actually pretty good when I cut this in half. I was only like 10 grams off from cutting it in half perfectly. So I cut them in half, pop them into a little bowl, and those are going in the fridge to chill until they're ready to use. Again, that's a great thing to prep. You can just make the dough ahead of time. Now we are going to make our filling. We're melting some vegan butter, and we're going to saute up some onion and garlic, because it's always just the most important, best part. I'm going to add in a bag of mixed frozen veggies. This just makes it easier. It has all the veggies in there that you want. Easy. And then I'm also going to throw in some tofu. I'm using actually a combination of soy extra firm and then the Big Mountain Foods that I showed you in the beginning, because I just had both of those to use up in the fridge and whatever. I let that cook for a few minutes until the veggies were nice and defrosted. Then we're going to add in all-purpose flour, or you could use cornstarch. And then we're going to add in a cup of vegan chicken broth. I'm using the Better Than Bouillon, and a cup of non-dairy milk. I'm using Ripple. We're going to mix this all together and let this cook for about 15 minutes over a medium heat until it gets nice and thick. Now for seasonings, you can add in what you want. I did salt, garlic powder, onion powder, a little dried thyme, and black pepper. And that's it. mix this up, and I'm just gonna let this cook, like I said, for about 15 minutes until it gets a lot thicker. You'll see it. You'll notice right now it's looking very liquidy. We will revisit this in a few minutes. In the meantime, let's work on our pie crust. So I have a 9-inch pie dish here. Even though it shouldn't stick, I just always get nervous, so I'm spraying it with a little spray oil. Now I'm going to take one of my dough balls, the other one's in the fridge, and I'm going to roll this out. So it's probably about 11 inches all around, so that way I know it will fit in the pie pan really well. You want it to be bigger than your pie pan, so that way it fills the bottom and goes up the sides. Then I'm going to roll the dough over the rolling pin, and I will drape it into the dish. You shouldn't need all-purpose flour when you're making, like when you're rolling the dough, but if you're finding it sticking, just throw a little down. It's fine if you need to do that. I'm going to take my hands and just carefully push the dough into the pie pan, and just making sure it's as, you know, flush and secured down as possible. I will then take like any of the overhang with my hands and just tuck it under, and then I will take a sharp knife and cut that off and save it for something that we will do later. And that's it. Now you have a little pie crust bottom done. Back to our filling. So you can see here it's really thickened up. It's looking more like a pot pie filling now. I tasted it and I just wanted to add in a little more salt and black pepper. But again, just add in what you like. It's your recipe. It's your kitchen. These are just, you know, starting off points. You could throw in lentils in here, mushrooms, cauliflower, zucchini, like whatever you want. Just put it in. Okay. Then we are going to scoop in our little pot pie filling, add it all in, and spill some along the way because what else is new on my channel? And I'm just like spreading it out, making sure it's evenly distributed amongst the little pie pan. And then we're going to roll out our other dough. I didn't want to have to show you guys that again. This time I did make it bigger though, probably more like 12 to 13 inches. So that way I knew I had a lot of overhang and a lot of dough to play with. So I'm taking all that overhang and I'm tucking it under first into the pie crust. And I originally wanted to do like a pretty little fold, but I tried it and it just didn't turn out right. So I just ended up crimping the edges with a fork. So I took the leftovers and then we made cute little snowflakes. Of course, I put the cookie cutter upside down because I didn't notice it first. And then we just cut out a bunch of little snowflakes. I think I got 11 of them from this. So here I am now. You could see I took the fork and I just crimped the edges because I was trying to do like a crimp that didn't turn out right. So, but I wanted to make sure it was sealed. Whatever way you want to seal the edges is fine. Just make sure it's sealed so it doesn't leak out. I'm going to make a little X on top for some ventilation. And then I just took my little snowflakes and I placed them around and they just look fun and festive and cute. And it's a nice way to use up the extra dough. And then this last thing is optional, but I just mixed some turmeric and non-dairy milk, or you could use water, and I brush it on top just to make sure it has a really nice golden yellow color, similar to how people would use an egg wash on top. This is going to get baked in the oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 35 minutes, and it's going to come out and it's going to be absolutely stunning. So beautiful. I mean, imagine this on a holiday table. Gorgeous. I hit it with a little spray oil just so it has a really nice shine right before serving. Now, you should probably wait at least 20 to 25 minutes before you cut into this. I got a little too excited and it was really hot, and so the filling was kind of going everywhere. You want to let it have some time to set, but honestly it doesn't matter. It's just going to be so delicious. It looks so pretty. I added some fresh thyme and oregano and it is so good. So I hope you enjoy these recipes. If you try any out, let me know. Like I said, everything's in the description box down below. We have more holiday recipes coming, so I hope you all are excited. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with more recipes. Bye.